Hi, fans. This is Henry's Baseball. We're back for another show. It's been a while since we put on a show. Tonight on Skype is my buddy Biancalana. He's a great guy. He was a shortstop, second baseman for the Kansas City Royals. He bats both, throws rights. He's 5'11", 160 at the time. He was born February 2nd, 1960 in Green Bay, California. And this says he's about 53. Is that correct, buddy? Are you about 53 now?
No comment.
Okay. You have to start off with a comedy. Okay, that's fine.
How old are you, Henry?
Well, I'm over the hill, buddy, but I wish I could play like you when you were younger. You know what I'm saying? That's my one dream is to get back to be young again, but that's not going to happen. It says you were drafted by the Kansas City Royals in the first round, 25th pick overall in the 1978 amateur draft, and also in September 2nd, 1982, at age 22, you were that was your first game with the Kansas City Royals versus the Astros, and then your final game was October 4th, 1987, at age 27. Yeah. So feel free to tell us how it all started, buddy. Did you sign right out of high school? What was it like in high school? Were you the best player on the team, or give us some background?
Well, I was very fortunate. I attended Redwood High School in Marin County, actually Larkspur, California. And I had three tools. The reason I was the first round pick was because I could run, field, and throw. And the Royals figured they could teach me how to hit, but that was a tough thing to do. But I was a first round pick, and I had signed a letter of intent to attend Arizona State University on a scholarship. And I was from a well-educated family. My father went to Berkeley. My mother went to Duke nursing school, and my sister went to Berkeley, and so I was all set to go to college, and I had heard that I might be a third or fourth round pick. And so I signed my letter of intent, and then the morning of the draft in June of 1978, I received a phone call from John Sherholtz. At the time was the farm director of the Kansas City Royals. John is now the president of the Atlanta Braves and had a lot to do with passing of instant replay that was just passed late last week that we're going to see in Major League Baseball. And John said on the phone to me, he said, we're going into the draft right now. We have the 25th pick. And if you're still available, would you be interested in signing? And my mother picked up the phone right just then downstairs, and I was upstairs in my room, and my mom said, no, he's going to college. And I said, Mom, I got it. And I told John that I would consider signing if all things were right. It was certainly my dream to play professional baseball, and I would be open to it. And he said, okay. And later that afternoon, I got a call saying that I was the first round pick by the Royals. And I'll tell you, it's quite a thrill. You know, as a kid growing up, I knew at 5 years old I wanted to play professional baseball. And I was fortunate to have a father that was able to spend a lot of time with me. We lived on the West Coast, and he was in the stock and bond business, so was able to get home early in the day and spend time playing. And we both just had a love for the game. I was very passionate about it, and I worked very hard at it. And so that day, I believe it was June 6th, 1978, was quite a thrill. To be a first-round pick was, and actually ahead of Cal Ripken, who was also a shortstop. That poor scout who drafted me ahead of Cal Ripken. God bless him. Art Lilly. But anyway, it was quite a thrill that day, and off I went to Florida to begin, a career at 18 years old, which was quite an adjustment.
So what happened after that? Did you go to single A, double A, triple A? What happened?
Yeah, I took the slow route, Henry. I spent half a season, I spent a year in rookie ball, and then I spent 2 years in A ball in the Florida State League. At the time, we didn't have low A, so the Florida State League was the only option for an A league, so I had to spend 2 years there, and I just really wasn't hitting at all. And, my defense was okay. I had tools, but I was making errors, and like most young players, it was taking me a while to develop. And certainly at the time, we didn't have the understanding about what it takes to be an all-around successful player that we do nowadays. So I was struggling and was worked very hard and stayed committed to my craft. And when I got to Double A, the lights started to go off a little bit. I started to swing the bat a little bit better. And when I got to Triple A, my fourth year, I guess that was 1982, things really started to come together. It was like I knew once I got to Triple A that, boy, my next call-up, I was going to the major leagues. And it did something to me, I think, psychologically that really, just got me to play the baseball I was capable of playing. I won a Silver Glove that year as the top fielding shortstop in the minor leagues. and that was the year after I made 47 errors in Double-A. So it was quite an improvement. And I started to swing better and got a call up to the big leagues that September. And it was more of a, kind of a paid vacation because we were in the pennant race at the time, and I didn't get much playing time, but got a chance to play in about 3 games, and I did okay. Got one or 2 hits. I can't even recall now, but it was a thrill getting called to the big leagues for the first time. I'll never forget. I was driving from Belmont, Kansas City. And if you've ever made the drive approaching at the time Royal Stadium, now Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, up on I-70, you look down at the stadium. And I'll never forget driving above the stadium on I-70 and looking down, and it's a magnificent stadium. And even to this day, it's still very state-of-the-art, although it was built in, I believe, 1970, maybe 72. And it's just a beautiful sight. So I'll never forget walking into Royal Stadium that September in 1982, and it was quite a feeling.
So what was it like? This is the one question that I have to ask. What was it like stepping on to the first time to know you were going to do a major league at bat or to take that field? What was that like? Tell people who have never experienced that.
Well, my first game, we were playing the Twins, and it was a blowout. And it was, one of those games where they take the starters out. So I think at the time UL Washington was the shortstop, and so Dick Hauser put me in the game, and for the ninth, I think it was 8th or 9th inning, and so it was very nerve-wracking. First major league game is for me. It was very, very nerve-wracking. I was very nervous, and as luck would have it, the first ball was hit to me. The first leadoff hitter, I believe, the 8th or 9th inning. It was just a hard, pretty hard, 3-hop ground ball, pretty routine ground ball. I mean, I caught the ball, I made the play like I made it my whole life, and that was that. And I started to feel fairly comfortable. My first hit came a few days later. I was I started at shortstop. It was the last game of the season. We were out of it, and my second at bat, we were playing the A's, and I hit a line drive to right field. Mike Heath, who was ordinarily a catcher, was playing right field last day of the season. He came running in on the line drive. The ball sailed over his head, and I was into third with a triple and tried to stretch it into an inside-the-park home run. Got thrown out at the plate. So my first hit was almost an inside-the-park home run. I don't know how many times that has been done, but it can't be too many, and I almost did it, but almost not close enough. But so it was a really exciting day for me. My parents were there, and when you're a kid and you dream to play in the major leagues, and there it is. It's a special day.
Buddy, we've heard you describe the telephone call that you got when you were invited. We've just now heard you describe what it felt like to walk onto the field for the very first time, and I'd like to take you forward to 1985 when Dick Hauser benched Concepcion, and it was your turn during the World Series to come in and play. And the first thought that came to your mind when you found out you were going to be the shortstop for that game?
Well, it actually, there were about 15 games left in in September, and we were in a dogfight with the Anaheim, at the time, California Angels, now Los Angeles Angels, and we were neck and neck. And neither one, throughout the season, I'd been in and out of the lineup and with Onyx Concepcion, and Dick just made a decision, I don't know if it was a gut feeling or what it was, to go with me at shortstop those last 15 games. And I played very well down the stretch. I caught the ball. Our team in '85 and many of the Royals teams over the years, Donna, have been built around pitching and defense. We had great pitching in '85, 5 outstanding starters and a great closer. And so I think Dick's feeling was, let's go with defense, and let's see if the defense along with the pitching can get us to where we want to get in the postseason. And so I caught the ball well down the stretch, and then we got in the postseason, and I ended up playing 14 errorless games at shortstop. And when I got in the World Series, I had a zone experience. I literally played the best baseball my whole life. I think I hit about 73 points higher than my career average. I was on base a lot, drawing walks, and had the feeling. It was a very unique experience, which really led to my business now of working with athletes in many different sports, which we can speak about later. But this zone experience, in which everything just kind of slowed down. I really wasn't thinking and just reacting. And every ground ball was hitting me right in the sweet spot. And I couldn't do anything wrong. It was a magnificent feeling, Many athletes, I'm sure, can think back to specific games they've had, or maybe a month, where they just have that feeling of you're on autopilot, and it's what really every athlete lives for. However, until a few years ago, when we quantified with a neuroscientist what's taking place in the brain when that happens, athletes haven't known how to get back to that spot, but we're able to teach that now. So more later on that.
Yeah, buddy, you said, I saw an interview you did on MLB Network with Jim Cott. You said it was as if everything slowed down, you couldn't hear the noise of the crowd, you let the ball travel further when you were hitting. Like you just said, everything was hitting you in the sweet spot. Describe that transition between, you said you made 47 errors in Double-A, and I have here that you had made one career error in the majors. What was the difference there? Just confidence?
Well, the one thing the big difference maker for me, Eric, going from Double-A to Triple-A, where I think I made 47 in Double-A, and the following year I made 17. I went to spring training and I started watching Frank White, who'd won many Gold Gloves. Frank was a great second baseman for the Royals back in my day, in the 80s and late 70s. And I noticed how Frank would actually extend his hands out to turn the in-between hop into a short hop. And there are three hops that an infielder can get. Two of them he loves. That's the long hop and the short hop. And the in-between hop is the one that he really doesn't want. That's the one that can eat an infielder up. And watching Frank field, I really learned how to go out and turn that in-between hop, potential in-between hop, into a short hop. And it made all the difference in my defensive career. So that was a big difference when I got to Triple-A, and for the most part, I played like that in the big leagues. I could never get real comfortable playing in the big leagues. I never, understood, the processes of the mind that we teach now that must happen for fluid, repeatable motion. So I was kind of always struggling to kind of stay in the lineup. I'd be in the lineup, I'd play okay, and then I'd struggle. I'd find myself back on the bench for a week, and I'd kind of, after a week on the bench, I'd kind of figure out, okay, I get it now, and I'd figure it out again. I'd get back in the lineup, play okay for a while. But that was kind of the story of my career. And but I went seeking for those answers and found a lot.
So what was it like to play with George Brett, the famous ball? Is he in the Hall of Fame now? Is that what it is?
Yeah, George's in the Hall of Fame, and George was a great leader on the field. He was a player that really led by example. In the clubhouse, didn't say too much. We had some great leaders on our club in those days, Henry. We had Hal McRae, who was just a tremendous leader in the clubhouse, really kept everybody loose, but would really get on guys. I've always said the most important component to a championship club is to have a leader on the field that will do some of the manager's dirty work. And because the manager just can't always be the bad guy. And so Hal McRae was one of those guys where, if you weren't doing things the right way, he was going to get in your face. And at the same time was always in your corner and supporting you and encouraging you, and would needle you, though, and had a lot of fun. We had a ton of fun, and he was just a really well-balanced teammate in many areas. However, George was more of a leader on the field and how to go about your business, how to work in pregame work. He worked hard every day in BP and taking his ground balls, and ran hard to first base. He broke up every double play, had a chance to break up, as did McRae. And both those guys really taught me a lot about how to play the game, in my opinion, the right way, and which is playing the game very, very hard. And it was a great team. George was certainly a tremendous hitter. He was a great clutch hitter. He really, I'll never forget a game in the '85 playoffs against Toronto. I believe it was game 3. We're playing in Kansas City. We were down 2-0 after losing 2 in Toronto. And we came back home, and our backs were against the wall, and George had a game which he hit 2 home runs. And I'll never forget the first home run he hit. I believe it was a shot to right center. And then he came up later in the game, and I was sitting on the bench and looking out to home plate and beyond home plate and beyond third base to the stands. And I'll never forget that as he came to the plate, I think there were 2 guys on, and all of a sudden all the fans started to stand up, and they started to really, it was like they were really wishing for George just to hit another home run. And it was like it almost slowed down, and it was almost like he said, okay, I'll do it. And the next pitch, he just drove out to left center field. It's my greatest memory of George hitting that home run, because it was such a crucial at bat. He's the leader of the club. He's the clutch hitter. Had he not hit that home run, we may not have gotten to the World Series in that year in '85.
I actually am a great fan as well of George Brett, and he gave some great advice to my son when my son was 5 years old, that you play for the love of the game. And I just heard you say that you have to play the game the right way. And in today's baseball market, both with our elite athletes and with our kids that are coming up, I have a son, and just like you, when you were 5 years old and you asked your mom, as I read, should I go to college or play for the Dodgers first? I'm not sure. My son says to me, should I be a clubhouse assistant or should I play for the Yankees? And as a mom, and for all of the parents out there, whether we are parents of young kids coming up, whether we are parents of, lucky enough to be parents of elite athletes like the Brett family and like your family, what's your best advice to being able to keep kids in a way that they appreciate the importance of practice, appreciate the importance of the game, and know how to stay in the zone and play it, as you said, play it the right way?
Well, as parents, I think the first thing we want to do is make sure that we are, our kids are playing for the right reason, not because we want them to. We want to make sure they're having fun. We want to make sure they're in an environment that supports growth in the game and growth as an individual. Sometimes coaches can be a little harsh and can create some wounds. I'll never forget, my oldest son, when he was 5 years old, went to a soccer practice, and the coach jokingly said, of course jokingly, but it was the last soccer practice my son ever went to, because the coach said, if you touch the ball with your hands, I'm going to cut your fingers off. And it didn't matter what we did, we could not get him to go to another soccer practice. So kids are very, very influenced by parents and teachers and coaches. So it's essential that we're sending the right message to these kids so that they can enjoy the game and play the game just for the passion of playing it, not always to win and not always to succeed, and understand that they're not always going to succeed. Not that it's not good to succeed and play well and strive to win, but we want to make sure that they feel good about themselves regardless of their performance. And I work with many professional athletes and amateur athletes in many different sports, and the most difficult players to work with are those players that as children in high school and amateur players were put under a lot of pressure by their parents. And if they didn't perform well, it really, really wounds the athlete. It wounds the person. And it's the most difficult thing for a professional athlete to overcome. It's that old message that if I don't play well, or if I play too well, I've got to sustain it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sustain it. If I don't sustain it, what's my father going to say? Mm-hmm. It's those old tapes that play that can really, really impede someone's success on the athletic field. So once the athlete at a young age is playing for the right reason, if he can play for the right reason all the way up, and parents allow that to happen and show their support and refrain from things that are detrimental to the performance of the player, the athlete's going to maintain that passion all the way through. Certainly when you get to the professional level, it's a little easier to lose that passion because there's a lot of pressure, and if an athlete doesn't understand how to deal with the pressure of performing, right, that passion you can lose that passion rather quickly and lose the enjoyment of playing the game rather quickly, and then just start playing for the money and because you're good at it. And that makes life a lot tougher when you're doing something just because you're good at it, or just because you're making money at it, as opposed to just really loving the time that you're spending with your craft. So, it starts young. And we've got to take care of those little kids as they grow into big kids and professionals, and life will be a little bit easier for them if we do that.
Hey, buddy, speaking of starting young, I know you grew up in the Bay Area. I was just wondering if you had, what team did you root for? Did you emulate any players? Were you a Giants fan, Oakland fan?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time going to Giants games and A's games, and uncharacteristically, growing up in the Bay Area, I turned into a Dodger fan because my father started to help Bill Singer. Bill Singer was the pitcher back in the late 70s for the Dodgers and Angels, and somehow my father was contacted by somebody to try and help Bill Singer get into the stock and bond business, of which my father was in. So we got to know Bill Singer rather well, and would spend time down in Los Angeles at his home and going to games and going out on the field. He'd give me a glove and go in the clubhouse. So, you know, you can imagine as a 9-year-old boy, it was rather exciting for me to do those things and be around the game in that capacity. So I quickly became a Dodger fan, and growing up in the Bay Area, the reception, it was on KFI, I think it was 620 KFI or 610 KFI in LA. The radio reception was very difficult to get up in the Bay Area, but I would go up on my roof at night and listen to Vin Scully.
Oh, yeah.
And there were certain nights that I could fall asleep. The reception was good enough for whatever, you know, the weather was right, the radio waves were carrying better up to Northern California, and I'd fall asleep listening to Dodger games right in my ear. So I became a huge Dodger fan, but you know, growing up, you know, I did like the Giants and saw Willie Mays and Willie McCovey play a lot, and Chris Spire, who I used to really love at shortstop, was really a hard-nosed player, played the game well. And I spent time going to the athletics games, the A's games in Oakland. It was only about 40 minutes from my home, as was Candlestick, the Giants ballpark at the time. And I went to all 3 World Series that the A's were in the 70s, 72, 73, and 74, and that was certainly a thrill, you know, getting to attend some World Series games. And so I just, you know, I loved baseball, watched a lot of games. You know, in those days, we didn't have all the games on TV. You know, we had the game of the week on Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning on the West Coast. And certainly didn't miss one of those. And then we had Monday Night Baseball, which started a few years later, which was always great, and which brings back, when I think Monday Night Baseball, I think Mark Fidrich pitching for the Tigers against, I believe it was the Yankees on Monday night. And,
the Bird.
You know, doing his thing on the mound, talking to the ball, you know, smoothing the dirt out, and you know, what a joy he was to watch. You talk about passion for the game, and make a very colorful figure. You know, my biggest complaint about baseball these days is it's gotten too vanilla, and that everybody looks the same, and certainly there's a best way mechanically to do things. I'm a huge proponent of great mechanics, but I think because of the business aspect of the game, there's so much money in it these days, it's just gotten a little vanilla. I miss the days of, I remember Willie Montanez, the first baseman, would catch the ball and bring it around his back, or catch a pop-up, or Willie Mays making the basket catch, and things like that. Some very unorthodox ways of doing things, but these guys are very effective. And not that you shouldn't do things in the most effective way, because you really should in life, but I miss those days of more colorful characters of the game, the Spaceman, and guys such as that, Louis Tion, Doc Ellis.
Ricky Henderson, yeah.
Yeah, Ricky Henderson. You know,
it
was really fun to watch.
That type of catch, yeah.
Yeah, what about Brett Saberhagen? I don't know if you heard, but he played about 16 years of MLB, and recently he was selling all his MLB stuff, even his Cy Young trophy. What do you think of that? And what was Brett Saberhagen like to be in the clubhouse, or when you went out to the mound and stuff? Tell us what you guys talked about on the mound.
What made Brett Saberhagen really successful on the mound was the fact that he loved the game, and he just had fun playing. And I'm sure there were days where he didn't have as much fun as others. But Brett came up, I believe, was 19 years old, and he, you know, he's a 19th round pick as well. He wasn't a first round pick, and he was just a guy that had a very, very fluid delivery, and all the processes of the mind worked naturally well for him, which is what we teach systematically now in our business. And he was tremendous to play behind, because you knew he was going to hit his spots. And as a shortstop, you know, when you have a pitcher back there that's going to hit his spots, you know, to some degree you can anticipate a little bit as to, you know, where a ball may be hit. So I found myself getting to balls that I ordinarily might not get to, just because of being able to really depend on Brett hitting his spots. So he was great. He had 3 really tremendous pitches, had a good fastball, good life. He could spot up well, and had a good changeup and a very good off-speed breaking ball. So he was just a tremendous player, and good teammate.
Buddy, we're getting to the end. Do you want to start talking about what you're doing right now? And possibly Donna might have a question, but we only have 5 minutes left, so this might be a chance to let people know what you're doing now.
Along with the neuroscience, we've quantified specifically processes of the brain that are taking place when an athlete's playing their best. If you speak to 100 athletes entering any sport and you ask them, tell me how you felt when you played your best, typically they'll talk about how everything kind of slowed down. They really weren't thinking, and their motion or their swing was more fluid and effortless. And there's one specific process in the brain that must occur for that to happen. And we're able to teach that process through drills and concepts that are taught on the field or on the golf course. We do a lot of work in professional golf. We've got a major golf announcement coming here within the next week or two. And we're in the process, we're finalizing a deal to become the official mental training program for the Space Coast Tour, which is a mini tour, a professional golf tour in Florida. We're doing a lot of work at the PGA and the LPGA. Do a lot of work in Major League Baseball with pitchers, a lot of pitchers, more hitters at the amateur level. And we've had a lot of success in 7 years. The average, I've got the numbers right here, the average strikeout to walk ratio of pitchers that work with us, professional pitchers, goes from 1.25 strikeouts for every walk to 2.22 the following year. And the average hitter goes from 267 to 379. We've seen some unbelievable things, and it's all scientifically proven. It's not a philosophy. We consider our program to be a mental training program based on neuroscience and the specific process that must happen in the brain. So we've done work with the Chicago Bulls, Portland Trail Blazers, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, and athletes in 7 professional and 13 amateur sports. I'm about to begin working with a figure skater this week. We've also got a book out, The 7 Secrets of World-Class Athletes, and it's available on Amazon. The book itself just describes the intellectual understanding of what it is we teach to get the full benefit of what we teach. We work with athletes over Skype or in person or in clinics. So it's a very, very exciting, very revolutionary program. I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, it's the most revolutionary thing that's ever hit sports. People in the golf industry are starting to know that. In baseball, they're slowly warming up. Baseball is God bless them, and right, wrong, or otherwise, they're really stuck with tradition. They're very slow to adapt to new ways and new ideas. And but we keep plugging along, and things, doors are opening up in Major League Baseball for us. So very, very exciting time for us.
Yeah, Donna has a question, but buddy, there's only 2 minutes left. Is there anything else? I just want to leave my number real quick, 781-891-0621. If somebody wants to talk to Buddy, 781-891-0621. If somebody needs Buddy's information, go ahead.
Henry, I want to thank you for inviting me on the show. And
this person, wait, let me tell you, because we only have so much time. She has tickets for the Red Sox, for 4 tickets for 60 years, her whole family for 60 years. Wow. And the tickets are $130 each. Wow. So imagine what the cost is. So this is Donna.
I am a die-hard Red Sox fan from the 4th generation. I'm now in the 4th generation. And actually, my question brings you back to the zone, although I do appreciate the plug about the Red Sox and my family's history there. And you sound like you are working mostly with men. And I've been working lately with the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, which, have you seen the movie A League of Their Own?
I have, yes.
Okay, well, they were the founders, pretty much, of women in baseball. Is there a different type of neuroscience that you would use if you had an opportunity to work with the gals who are part of A League of Their Own today?
No, it's the same program. The mind-body connection works the same for all athletes in all sports, Donna. And whether you're man or woman, young boy or young girl, it's all the same. So all of our teaching, I've worked with many softball players, and again, I'm starting my first figure skater next week. So
yeah, buddy, we got to cut it short. I'm sorry,
okay.
The time is up. But anybody would like to call me, I'm at 781-891-0621. Our 30 minutes are up, but I really thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk to you, and I thank Donna, and I thank this ball player here. He's going to be the next shortstop.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Henry.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.